What is going on, America? It's your boy Wisco Madman coming at you to talk to you about Netflix. Now, Netflix has been an absolute breakout ever since it started. I was one of the earlier adopters and have been a huge fan of it ever since. Up until recently, when I ended my contract with Netflix, probably I'd say about 6 months ago, almost now. But anyway, so I'll get to why I ended said subscription with them. I have subscription with Hulu, HBO Max. Once in a while, I'll have Prime. Don't really watch too much original content from them. But the reason why I ended with Netflix is because more and more in the recent years, it seems they're pushing an agenda. Obviously, they're left wing, most media companies are. That's not my problem. I agree with much of that thinking. Now, whether or not I want that in my politics is a different story. Really, it just came down to, and mind you, most of these shows I was a huge fan of. But it comes down to shows like 13 Reasons Why, Sex Education, Space Force, Big Mouth, Money Heist, Narcos, and lastly, one that I have yet to watch and refuse to watch, Dear White People. Because why would I watch that? Seriously. Push an agenda much? The title itself is an agenda. Now, basically, it's gotten to this thing where 13 Reasons Why, perfectly understandable story. I relate to it quite closely. I was bullied all through high school, all through middle school. And, I look back on that, and would I have had it differently? Of course. Obviously, I wouldn't want to be bullied, but it's also made me who I am today. And, I'm not one to look back and regret. So, to move from that, the big thing that I had is just a simple storyline. Obviously, it's something we can all relate to, as I said. And they start with things like that because it's easy to digest for the viewer. The white alpha male bullying, the jock of the high school bullying innocent kids, or the people who seem to be the victim. And my big problem with that is pushing this victim agenda. The progressives have been pushing this victim mindset for so many people, and it's dangerous. It really is. Because you'll never have success if you constantly view yourself as a victim. You can't consistently have this, oh, woe is me, and I've been oppressed, and I've been this, and I've been that. And I know the white straight male is trying to tell you how it is, but I'm telling you, success doesn't come by being a victim. Period. Ask any successful people. Ask black business owners that are doing great in their business. I've worked with people like that. Ask Islamic business owners. Ask anybody. Any I hate having to identify by races because that's not who I am. But that's what today's world's become, and it's for pushing agendas like this. You go into Sex Education's another one that I like that's kind of off the beaten path kind of storyline, and not something that everybody would watch. But I like the show Sex Education, and even they start normalizing the idea of sexual expression in everyday life. The small things fine. I'm not going full on, you should hide every bit of your sexuality. That's not what I'm getting at. But what I am saying is making it the number one thing that you're trying to point out is a little ridiculous. You know, if you're in an adult environment, fine, do whatever you want. At that point, adult environments are for you to express yourself however, because the other people around you have a developed enough mind that they can make the decisions for themselves. But you have to realize when you're around kids, you can influence them. Kids are still developing their minds. They're still seeing the world. They're still developing their opinions. That's why we don't really... The sexual part of the world, we leave that for them to discover for themselves. Not to just throw it in their face. And in the case of Netflix, we don't want to throw it in their face. Now, sex education is not necessarily one of the ones that I would say is throwing it in kids' faces, because I wouldn't necessarily consider that the average teen's viewing. But you talk about Big Mouth, that's a big one. Me and my friends love that show, but especially the last season, we're getting more and more into pushing all sorts of sexual agendas, and my big problem with it, outside, dare I use a term like the norm, is you're pushing these things to a younger viewing audience. I know I'm not the prime viewing audience. More of the prime viewing audience when you're talking about an animation type show is your 13 to 20-year-olds. And regardless of being an adult, at 20 years old, you're still developing. You can ask any doctor on that one. But what I'm getting at with that is, yet again, that's pushing sexuality to a point and giving them some sort of script to emulate. And they like to copycat and do things, not so much because that's what they feel, but they don't know. I know I didn't know. I had no idea. Other things like Space Force was another one. Love that show. But the entire comedy is blatant Steve Carell comedy towards Trump and how ridiculous Space Force is, which, mind you, Space Force is literally taking all the off this planet operations that are already in every single branch and putting them into one branch. Better finances and better functionality, keeping all that in one sector. Makes sense, doesn't it? Yeah, got a lot of shit though. So anyway, Money Heist is another one. I can't remember the name of the other shows. I want to say Parasite or something like that. That was another one that always seemed really interesting to me. And I think I even got duped twice to try to watch it. And I start watching it and I'm like, dude, I can't understand any of this. I'm not going to watch an entire movie in subtitles. If I wanted that, I would look for that. Why are you suggesting it to me? Pushing in an agenda. Pushing in an agenda that every American should know multiple languages. Do I try? Absolutely. I'm actually studying Spanish, have been studying Spanish for years. On a forefront priority? Absolutely not. But it's a background thing. When I have spare time and when I'm bored, I go into... now the one that I'm using is Duolingual. Used to be on Babbel. But anyway, so pushing that idea that we should have to watch films in other languages. No thanks. Narcos, another one. Narcos, absolutely love Narcos and Narcos Mexico. Both talking about Pablo Escobar and talking about Miguel Castilla. I'd be lying if I said I remembered. But regardless, the Mexican drug cartel. And they're glorifying drug trade. Hey, it's A-okay, drug trade, killing people, illegal sales, all that stuff. Now, do I agree with drugs being illegal? No. But do I believe that you should turn yourself into a mass murdering crime organization just to sell weed and then eventually other drugs? Nah, not a good idea. But hey, they sure got me into it. And as I said before, dear white people, the title alone is a virtue signal, and I'm not about to watch it. Because why the hell would I want to watch something that is blatantly geared at, like, the title alone tells me you're blatantly geared at hating on white people. Period. Tells me that we're all bad just because of the color of our skin. Sounds like a reverse version of what white people did to black people 50 years ago. Two wrongs don't make it right, guys. You know, I'll use this term as an overall with anything that has to do with race. I was raised to be colorblind. I know a lot of people are offended by that statement, but I don't care what the color of your skin is. I just care about the character you have in your actions. That's it. Like, let's get over the victim mindset. Let's get over the virtue signaling and, back to the Netflix of it. Netflix is virtue signaling, and they're forcing their worldview, globalism, and, all this progressive agenda. I'm not super far right, but I just want to watch normal shows, man. I just want to be entertained, and Netflix seems to be a pretty good company and organization in making good shows, or at least from a little research, it kind of sounds like they're good at buying good shows. But regardless, every big business does buying anyway. So whether they're writing or they're buying, they put together decent programming. I'm just asking to stop having it be so much of a political statement. Not every day does somebody want every single thing to be about politics. We talk about it enough on here, guys. I'm not looking for my daily programming to be all politics. This has been your boy Wisco Madman. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. Peace.